The final battle began at dawn on Earth, though in the darkness of space, dawn was just a concept. War Prime Zethros led his remaining fleet of 600 ships in a desperate charge toward humanity's home world. Behind him came the last loyal Vorthak warriors, determined to die rather than accept defeat. Waiting for them was the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. 3,000 ships from 40 different species hung in space around Earth, like a wall of metal and fury. Humans fought alongside Krillian warriors, Mantari engineers, and species that had never worked together before. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of Earth's newest flagship, the UES Defiance. Around her, officers from a dozen worlds coordinated the defense of humanity's home. It was a sight that would have been impossible just months before. "All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan," Kate broadcast to the massive Allied fleet. "Today, we fight not just for Earth, but for the freedom of every species in the galaxy. Show them what unity can accomplish." Captain Jake Morrison commanded the left wing of the fleet in his ship New Discovery. Beside him flew Captain Thane Bloodfist of the Krillian Empire and Commander Zalavex of the Mantari Federation. Former enemies now fought as brothers. "Human Jake," Thane said over the comm, his translator making his growling voice understandable. "My people have waited 2 centuries for this day. We will not fail you." "We fight together or we fall together," Jake replied. "All species, all worlds, one cause." War Prime Zethros watched the massive fleet arrayed against him and felt no fear, only cold determination. His empire was broken, his people scattered, but he would not give these upstart humans the satisfaction of victory. "All ships, maximum speed," Zethros commanded. "Target their command vessels. If we cannot win, we will take their leaders with us." The Vorthak fleet charged toward Earth like a spear of dark metal, their ships pushing their engines beyond safe limits. They came not to conquer but to destroy, not to rule but to ensure that humanity's victory would be remembered with sorrow. The 2 fleets met in the space between Earth and Mars with a violence that shook reality itself. Energy beams crossed the void like lightning bolts. Missiles streaked through space trailing fire. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes that could be seen from both worlds. But this battle was different from all the others. The Vorthak were fighting alone, while humanity fought with allies who had learned to trust each other. When human ships were damaged, Krillian vessels moved to protect them. When Mantari cruisers were overwhelmed, human fighters came to their aid. Captain Tony Martinez led Phoenix Squadron in a direct assault on Zethros' flagship. The massive Vorthak vessel was surrounded by escort ships and bristling with weapons, but Tony had learned not to fear alien technology. "Remember, aim for their command sections," Tony told his pilots. "Cut off their head and the body dies." The human fighters weaved through the alien defensive fire like dancers performing a deadly ballet. They had learned to think like the enemy, to anticipate their moves and counter their tactics. War Prime Zethros felt his flagship shaking under the human assault and smiled coldly. Let them come. He had one final surprise waiting for them. "Activate the Doomsday weapon," Zethros commanded. His officers looked at him in shock. The Doomsday weapon was a device of such terrible power that it could crack a planet's crust. It would destroy Earth, but it would also destroy most of both fleets. "War Prime, that will kill us all," his second-in-command protested. "Better to die than to live as slaves to humans," Zethros replied. But before the weapon could charge, something unexpected happened. Dr. Alex Turner, and a team of Allied engineers materialized on the flagship's bridge using Mantari teleportation technology. "Hello, War Prime," Alex said calmly, holding a device that disrupted Vorthak weapons. "We need to talk." Zethros drew his personal weapon, but Alex's device made it useless. Around the bridge, Vorthak officers found their equipment failing as the Allied boarding party took control. "You cannot stop the weapon," Zethros snarled. "It is already charging." "Actually, we can," Alex replied, connecting his equipment to the ship's computer. "We've been studying your technology for months. We know exactly how to shut it down." The Doomsday weapon powered down just as it reached critical charge. Zethros watched his final hope of victory disappear and felt something he had never experienced before: complete defeat. Outside, the battle was ending. Surrounded and outgunned, the remaining Vorthak ships began to surrender. Their crews had fought bravely, but they could not win against overwhelming odds and superior coordination. Captain Jake Morrison received the surrender of Captain Krulex, one of the few Vorthak officers he had come to respect during the long conflict. "Your people fought well," Jake told the alien commander. "There is no shame in honorable defeat." Krulex looked surprised. "You would show mercy to your enemies?" "We're not your enemies anymore," Jake replied. "This war is over. Now we build something better." When War Prime Zethros was brought before Admiral Sullivan as a prisoner, the galaxy watched on screens across hundreds of worlds. The great conqueror who had terrorized the galaxy for centuries now stood defeated before a human leader. "I suppose you will execute me," Zethros said with dignity. Kate studied the alien warrior who had caused so much death and suffering. She could have him killed and few would protest, but that was not the human way. "No," Kate said finally. "You will stand trial for your crimes, but you will live. Your people will need leaders to help them find a new path." Zethros looked confused. "You would spare the life of your greatest enemy?" "I'm sparing the life of someone who could become something better," Kate replied. "The age of conquest is over. The age of cooperation begins now." In the weeks that followed, the galaxy transformed in ways no one had imagined possible. The Vorthak Empire officially dissolved, its member species declaring independence. A new organization called the Galactic Council was formed, with Earth as one of the founding members. The Council's first act was to create a new classification system for species. Instead of ranking civilizations by their military power, they would be ranked by their contributions to science, art, and peaceful cooperation. Humanity was given a special designation, Class Omega. It was a new category created specifically for species that could unite others against oppression. The galaxy's former apex predators became teachers, showing other species how to work together instead of fighting each other. Dr. Ryan Clark established the first Interspecies Research Institute, where scientists from dozens of worlds worked together to solve the galaxy's greatest challenges. Former enemies shared knowledge freely, advancing civilization by centuries in just a few years. Captain Jake Morrison was promoted to admiral and given command of the new galactic peacekeeping force. His fleet included ships from every member species, crewed by mixed teams that represented the new spirit of cooperation. War Prime Zethros, after his trial and conviction, spent his remaining years writing about the mistakes that had led to his empire's fall. His books became required reading at the new Galactic Military Academy, teaching future officers about the dangers of believing in one's own invincibility. On Earth, President Marcus Webb addressed the world on the first anniversary of humanity's victory. Behind him stood representatives from 40 different species, all working together to build a better galaxy. "A year ago we faced extinction," President Webb said. "We were told that resistance was futile, that we should surrender to our fate. Instead, we chose to fight, not just for ourselves, but for the principle that all species deserve freedom." The president paused, looking directly into the camera that was broadcasting across the galaxy. The Vorthak Empire made one crucial mistake. They thought that because we came in peace, we were weak. They learned too late that the capacity for peace and the capacity for war often exist in the same heart. They underestimated not just our strength, but our ability to inspire others to find their own strength. In a prison on a distant world, War Prime Zethros watched the broadcast and nodded slowly. The humans had indeed been his greatest enemies. But perhaps, in defeat, he was beginning to understand that they might also have been his greatest teachers. The galaxy was no longer a place where the strong ruled the weak. It had become something unprecedented in its history, a place where different species worked together as equals, where conflicts were resolved through negotiation rather than conquest, where the greatest honor came not from winning battles, but from preventing them. Humanity had faced the galaxy's deadliest species and emerged victorious. But their greatest victory was not the destruction of an empire. It was the creation of something better in its place. The age of predators was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and in the vast darkness between the stars, new species looked up at the night sky with hope instead of fear, knowing that somewhere out there, others would help them reach for the stars without having to conquer them first. Lieutenant Commander Sam Rodriguez floated in his escape pod, watching the alien ships disappear into the darkness of space. His hands shook as he checked the pod systems. The emergency beacon was working, sending out a signal that would reach Earth in a few hours. Sam had been the only crew member who escaped when the aliens boarded the Discovery. He hid in an emergency compartment while his friends were captured or killed. Sam closed his eyes and tried to forget the sounds he had heard. The screams, the weapons firing, the cold laughter of the aliens. He had served in Earth's space fleet for 10 years, but nothing had prepared him for this. A day later, the rescue ship UES Falcon found Sam's pod. Captain Helen Brooks brought him aboard and listened to his report with growing worry. Helen was a tough woman who had served in Earth's military for 20 years. She had fought pirates and rebels, but never aliens. "How many ships did they have?" Helen asked as they flew back to Earth. "At least 50, Sam replied. "Maybe more. Their main ship was huge, bigger than anything we've ever built. And their weapons, they cut through our shields like they were made of paper." Helen nodded grimly. "We need to get you to Earth Command as fast as possible." When they reached Earth, Sam was taken directly to the Pentagon. Admiral Kate Sullivan was waiting for him in a secure room deep underground. Kate was known as the smartest military leader on Earth. She had gray hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. "Tell me everything," Kate said. Sam told his story again. Kate listened without speaking, making notes on her tablet. When Sam finished, Kate was quiet for a long moment. "They called themselves the Vorthak Empire?" Kate asked. "Yes, ma'am. They said they had conquered 847 worlds." Kate turned to Dr. Ryan Clark, Earth's top expert on alien life. Ryan was a young man with thick glasses who had spent his whole career studying signals from space. He had always hoped to meet aliens, but not like this. "What do you think, Ryan?" Kate asked. Ryan looked pale. If they're telling the truth, they're the most powerful force in the galaxy. 800 worlds. That's an empire bigger than anything in human history. Kate called an emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council. Leaders from every nation came to the underground command center. President Marcus Webb sat at the head of the table. He was a calm man who had led Earth through many crises, but his face showed worry. "How much time do we have?" President Webb asked. "They told Captain Morrison they would visit Earth soon," Sam reported. "They seem to think we'll be easy to conquer." Dr. Clark had been studying the data from Sam's pod. The pod's sensors had recorded the alien ships before the Discovery was captured. What he found made his blood run cold. "According to this data, their ships use technology we don't understand," Ryan said. "Their weapons are based on some kind of energy manipulation. Their shields can stop anything we have." Admiral Sullivan studied the sensor readings. She had fought in many battles, but always against human enemies. This was different. This was like fighting gods. "How do they choose their targets?" Kate asked. Ryan had been researching this question. He had found old radio signals from other parts of the galaxy, signals that had stopped suddenly over the past few centuries. "I think they have a system," Ryan explained. "They rate species by how dangerous they are. The weak ones they conquer easily. The strong ones they destroy completely." "What about species like us?" President Webb asked. Ryan looked uncomfortable. "Based on their pattern, they probably think we're weak. We've only sent out exploration ships. We've never shown them our military." Kate leaned forward. "That might be good for us. If they think we're helpless, they won't bring their full force." In another part of the building, Colonel Danny Brooks was reading the same reports. Danny was in charge of Earth's secret military projects. He was a big man with scars on his hands from years of testing new weapons. Most people didn't know what Danny's team had been building in hidden bases around the world. Danny picked up his secure phone and called his team leaders. "Code Red," he said. "Activate all projects. We're going to war." Dr. Emma Stone was working late in her lab when she got Danny's call. Emma was one of Earth's best engineers. She had been designing new types of spacecraft for the past 5 years. Her ships were not like the peaceful exploration vessels that most people knew about. "How long do we have?" Emma asked. "Could be days, could be weeks," Danny replied. "Get everything ready." Meanwhile, far from Earth, Dr. Alex Turner was waking, up in an alien prison cell. His head hurt, and his hands were tied with energy ropes. The cell was small and dark, with walls made of some kind of black metal. Alex could hear other prisoners in nearby cells. Some were human voices from his crew. Others were speaking in languages he had never heard before. A tall alien guard walked past his cell. The creature was covered in dark armor and carried a weapon that hummed with energy. Alex had always wanted to study alien life, but not from inside a prison cell. "Hey," Alex called out. "Where are we?" The guard stopped and looked at him. Its red eyes glowed in the darkness. "You are on War Prime Zethros' flagship," the guard said in rough English. "You will be questioned soon." "What do you want to know?" Alex asked. The guard laughed. "Everything about your weak species. Your weapons, your defenses, your fears. War Prime Zethros wants to know how long your world will last." "What if I don't tell you anything?" "Then you will die slowly," the guard replied. "But first you will watch your homeworld burn." The guard walked away, leaving Alex alone in the dark. He thought about Earth, about his family and friends. He had to find a way to warn them or help them. But first, he had to survive. Back on Earth, Admiral Sullivan was meeting with her top officers. They were planning for a war unlike any in human history. The room was full of maps and computer screens showing Earth's defenses. "What are our advantages?" Kate asked. Captain Tony Martinez spoke up. He was Earth's best tactical officer. "They don't know our real capabilities. They think we're just explorers." "What else?" Kate asked. "They're used to fighting honorable enemies," said Colonel Brooks. "Species that fight fair and follow rules. Humans don't always fight fair." Kate smiled for the first time since hearing Sam's report. "Then we'll give them a lesson in human warfare." The meeting went on for hours. Plans were made and orders were sent to military bases around the world. Humanity was preparing for the fight of its life. The aliens thought they were conquering another weak species. They were about to learn that humans were different from any enemy they had faced before. As the sun set over Earth, Admiral Sullivan looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an alien fleet was coming to destroy her world. But Earth would be ready. The aliens had made their first mistake when they attacked the Discovery. They were about to make a much bigger one when they underestimated the human spirit. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Discovery, watching the stars through the main window. His ship had been exploring this part of space for 3 months now. They were looking for new worlds and maybe new friends among the stars. Jake was a calm man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had been flying ships for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like what appeared on his screens that morning. "Captain, we have something big on our sensors," said Lieutenant Amy Walsh from her station. Her voice was excited but also worried. "It's huge, sir. Much bigger than our ship." Jake walked over to look at her screen. The object was massive, like a small city floating in space. It was dark and covered in strange markings. Sharp edges stuck out from its sides like the teeth of some giant beast. Jake had never seen a ship like this before. "Can you tell what it is?" Jake asked. "No, sir, but it's definitely not from Earth. The design is completely different from anything we've built," Amy replied. Jake felt his heart beat faster. This could be it. This could be humanity's first meeting with aliens. He had dreamed about this moment since he was a child. But something about the ship made him feel uneasy. It looked like it was built for war, not exploration. "Send a message," Jake ordered. "Tell them we come in peace. Use all the languages we know and add some math and pictures. Maybe they'll understand." Dr. Lisa Parker, the ship's communication expert, worked at her station. She was a smart woman who spoke 12 languages and understood how to talk to different cultures. "Message sent, Captain. Now we wait." The alien ship did not answer. Instead, it moved closer to the Discovery. Jake could see weapon ports opening along its sides. His stomach dropped. "Shields up," Jake ordered quickly. "All hands to battle stations." Alarms began to ring throughout the ship. The crew moved to their emergency positions. Jake watched the alien ship grow larger on the screen. He could see strange symbols glowing on its surface. Suddenly, the alien ship spoke. The voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. It spoke in perfect English, which surprised everyone. "Small creatures of the weak species. You will surrender your vessel. You will tell us about your home world. You will obey the Vorthak Empire." Jake stepped forward. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Ship Discovery. We come in peace. We want to be friends." The alien voice laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. "Friends? You are nothing. We are the Vorthak. We have conquered 847 worlds. Your species will be number 848. "We don't want to fight," Jake said. "There's no need for war between us." "There is no war. the voice replied. "There is only conquest. You will surrender now, or you will die." Lisa looked at Jake with fear in her eyes. "Captain, what do we do?" Before Jake could answer, the alien ship fired. Bright energy beams hit the Discovery's shields. The ship shook violently. Sparks flew from control panels. The lights flickered. "Damage report!" Jake shouted over the noise. "Shields at 60%, called out engineer Bobby Chan. "They're using some kind of energy weapon we've never seen before." The alien ship fired again. This time the beams were stronger. The Discovery's shields flashed and failed. The next shots hit the ship directly. Explosions rocked the vessel. Jake was thrown against a wall. "Get us out of here," Jake ordered. "Maximum speed." "I'm trying, sir, but our engines are damaged," replied the pilot, Lieutenant Carlos Rivera. The Vorthak ship moved closer. Jake could see smaller ships coming out of it. They looked like metal sharks swimming through space. "Captain, they're jamming our communications," Lisa reported. "I can't send a message to Earth." One of the smaller alien ships attached itself to the Discovery's hull. Jake heard metal being cut. "They were coming aboard. Security teams to Deck 3, Jake ordered. But he knew his small crew was no match for alien warriors. The aliens broke through the hull in minutes. They were tall and covered in dark armor. Their faces were hidden behind metal masks. They moved like trained killers. Jake's security team tried to stop them, but the aliens had better weapons and better armor. Jake and his crew were captured quickly. The aliens tied them up with energy ropes that burned when touched. Jake looked around at his crew. Amy was bleeding from a cut on her head. Carlos had a broken arm. Lisa was crying quietly. The alien leader was bigger than the others. He had scars on his armor and red eyes that glowed in the dark. He looked at Jake like he was looking at an insect. "You are the leader of this vessel?" the alien asked. "Yes," Jake replied. "I am Captain Morrison. I am War Commander Draketh of the Vorthak Empire. Your ship is now ours. Your crew will tell us about your home world." "Why?" Jake asked. "Why do you want to conquer us? We've done nothing to you." Draketh laughed. "We conquer because we are strong. You are weak. This is the way of the universe. The strong rule. The weak serve or die." "We are explorers, not soldiers," Jake said. "We just want to learn about the galaxy." "Then you will learn about death," Draketh replied. He gave orders to his soldiers in their own language. It sounded like growling. The aliens took Dr. Alex Turner and 3 other scientists from Jake's crew. Alex was a young man who studied alien life. He had joined the mission, hoping to discover new forms of life among the stars. Now he was being dragged away by creatures from his worst nightmares. "Where are you taking them?" Jake demanded. "They will help us understand your species," Draketh said. "They will tell us about your weaknesses. Then we will visit your home world." "Earth has defenses," Jake warned. "We're not as helpless as you think." Draketh laughed again. "Every species says this. They are all wrong. Your Earth will fall in days, just like all the others." The aliens left most of Jake's crew alive, but took their ship. Jake and the remaining crew were put in escape pods and sent drifting in space. As Jake watched the Discovery disappear with the alien fleet, he felt anger building inside him. The aliens had made a mistake. They thought humans were weak because they came in peace. They thought Earth would be easy to conquer because the Discovery was a science ship, not a warship. They had never seen humans fight. They had never seen what happened when someone threatened Earth. Jake activated the emergency beacon in his escape pod. Soon a rescue ship would find them, And then Earth would learn about the Vorthak Empire. Jake smiled grimly as he thought about what would happen next. The aliens wanted to meet humanity's warriors. They were about to get their wish. War Prime Zethros stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, looking at the star maps spread before him. He was the greatest warrior in Vorthak history, with scars covering his dark skin and red eyes that had seen the fall of hundreds of worlds. His armor was black metal decorated with the bones of his enemies. For 300 years he had led the Vorthak Empire's conquest of the galaxy. War Prime, his second-in-command, said, "We have received data about the human home world." Zethros looked at the information his soldiers had taken from the captured humans. Earth was a small blue planet with one moon. The data showed cities and ships, but nothing that impressed him. The humans had basic space travel and simple weapons. They were like all the other weak species he had crushed. "How long did it take to conquer the Krillian Empire?" Zethros asked. 3 days, War Prime. They had 500 warships and fought bravely. "And the Mantari Federation?" 1 week. They used powerful energy shields and trained their whole population as soldiers. Zethros laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "This human species has perhaps 50 ships and no real weapons. We will conquer them in hours." The Vorthak Empire worked like a machine. Every species they conquered was given a rank based on how hard they fought. Class 1 species surrendered without fighting. Class 5 species put up some resistance. Class 10 species were dangerous enough to require the full Vorthak fleet. In 3 centuries, only 2 species had ever reached Class 10. Both were now extinct. "What class shall we assign to the humans?" the second-in-command asked. "Do not waste time with classification," Zethros replied. "They will surrender before we reach their world." On Earth, President Marcus Webb sat in the Oval Office, reading the message that had just arrived from the alien fleet. The message was simple and terrifying. Surrender your world or watch it burn. You have 1 solar day to decide. President Webb called Admiral Sullivan immediately. "Kate, are we ready?" "As ready as we can be in such short time," Kate replied. "But Marcus, we're facing an empire that has never lost a war." "There's a first time for everything," President Webb said. "Send them our answer." An hour later, the Vorthak fleet received Earth's reply. War Prime Zethros expected words of surrender and fear. Instead, he heard President Webb's calm voice speaking directly to him. "War Prime Zethros of the Vorthak Empire. You have attacked our people without cause. You have threatened our world without reason. This is our only warning. Leave our space immediately or face the consequences." Zethros stared at the message in disbelief. In 300 years, no species had ever threatened him. They begged for mercy or died in silence. They did not give him warnings. "Play the message again," Zethros ordered. His officers played it 3 times. Each time, the human president's words were the same: calm, strong, unafraid. "War Prime," one of his advisors said. "Perhaps we should bring more ships. The humans seem different." Zethros roared in anger. "Different? They are insects. I will not be threatened by creatures who have never left their own star system." The War Prime ordered 200 ships to attack Earth. It was the same force that had conquered the mighty Krillian warrior race. He would show these humans what happened to species that dared to threaten the Vorthak Empire. On Earth, Colonel Danny Brooks was in his secret command center deep under the Rocky Mountains. The room was filled with screens showing military bases around the world. For 20 years, Danny had been preparing for a war that might never come. Now it was here. "Status report," Danny ordered. "Luna Base is ready," reported Commander Lisa Hayes. "All weapon platforms are online. Mars Station? Fully operational. Our long-range sensors show the alien fleet is still 3 days away." Danny smiled grimly. The aliens thought Earth only had a few exploration ships. They had never seen Luna Base, hidden on the dark side of the moon. They didn't know about Mars Station or the weapon platforms floating in the asteroid belt. Humanity had been preparing for this day since they first reached space. Dr. Emma Stone was in her lab, working on the final adjustments to Earth's secret fleet. The ships looked nothing like the peaceful exploration vessels the aliens had seen. These were predators, built for speed and stealth. Their weapons were designed to kill, not explore. "How many do we have ready?" Danny asked over the comm. 50 attack ships, 20 heavy cruisers, and 5 stealth carriers, Emma replied. "Not much against 200 alien ships, but they'll be surprised." "Good. Make sure the stealth systems are working. Our whole plan depends on staying hidden until the right moment." In space, the Vorthak fleet moved toward Earth like a storm of metal and death. Each ship was a work of art, designed to inspire fear in enemies. They had conquered nearly 1,000 worlds with these vessels. Earth would be just another victory. War Prime Zethros called his ship captains to a meeting. The holographic images of 50 commanders appeared before him. Each one was a veteran of hundreds of battles. "The humans have refused to surrender," Zethros announced. "We will show them why this was a mistake." "War Prime," said Captain Krulex, "should we offer them another chance? Some species fight better when they think they have no choice." "No," Zethros replied. "They will learn fear when they see their cities burning." On the captured human ship, Dr. Alex Turner was being questioned by Vorthak interrogators. They wanted to know about Earth's defenses, but Alex told them only about the exploration fleet and peaceful space stations. He said nothing about Luna Base or the secret military projects. "Your world has no real weapons?" the interrogator asked. "We're explorers, not warriors," Alex lied. "We've never fought a war in space." The interrogator seemed satisfied. Alex hoped his lies would give Earth some advantage. He didn't know if it would be enough, but it was all he could do. Back on Earth, Admiral Sullivan was meeting with pilots from around the world. They had trained for years in secret, learning to fly ships that officially didn't exist. Now they would face the ultimate test. "Remember," Kate told them, "we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to survive. Use every trick you know. Fight dirty if you have to. These aliens expect honorable combat. Give them chaos instead." Captain Megan Foster raised her hand. She was the best pilot in Earth's secret fleet. "What if they try to negotiate during the battle?" "They won't," Kate replied. "From what we've learned, the Vorthak don't negotiate. They conquer or they destroy. There's no middle ground." As the alien fleet drew closer to Earth, people around the world prepared for war. Most civilians were moved to underground shelters. Those who stayed on the surface were volunteers helping with the defense. Nobody knew if they would survive the next few days. President Webb made one final broadcast to the world. "My fellow humans," he said, "we face our greatest challenge. An alien empire wants to conquer our world. They think we are weak because we come in peace. They are about to learn that peaceful does not mean helpless. We will show them what happens when someone threatens Earth. In his prison cell, Dr. Alex Turner heard alien guards talking about the coming battle. They were excited about conquering another world. They talked about the humans like they were animals to be slaughtered. Alex felt anger burning in his chest. These creatures had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked humanity's explorers and thought they had seen humanity's warriors. They were wrong. War Prime Zethros looked at Earth growing larger on his screens. It was a beautiful blue world, rich and green. Soon it would be another jewel in the Vorthak Empire. The humans would serve or die. There was no other choice. But Zethros did not know that humanity had already made their choice. They would fight. And they would show the galaxy's greatest predators what it meant to face Earth's children in battle. The Vorthak invasion fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 200 massive warships spread out in perfect formation, their dark hulls gleaming with weapon ports and armor plating. War Prime Zethros stood on his command bridge, watching the small blue planet that would soon be his newest conquest. "Begin the attack," Zethros ordered. "Show these humans the power of the Vorthak Empire." The alien fleet moved toward Earth like a tide of destruction. Their ships were beautiful and terrible, each one a masterpiece of war. For 3 centuries, this same formation had brought death to hundreds of worlds. Today would be no different. Or so they thought. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the alien fleet from Luna Base's hidden command center. The base was built inside an old crater on the moon's dark side, invisible to anyone approaching Earth. Kate had been waiting for this moment her entire career. "All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan," she said into her comm. "You know your orders. Make them count." Commander Tony Martinez was piloting the Earth ship Defiance, hidden behind a large asteroid. Tony was known for his crazy ideas and willingness to take risks. His ship was one of 50 attack vessels waiting in the shadows. "Phoenix Squadron, are you ready?" Tony asked. "Ready to dance," replied Captain Megan Foster from her stealth fighter. Megan could fly anything with engines, and she had never lost a dogfight. The Vorthak fleet was halfway to Earth when the first surprise hit them. What looked like a small group of cargo ships suddenly appeared directly in their path. The alien. Commanders laughed. The humans were sending merchant vessels against warships. "Destroy them quickly," ordered Captain Krulex, one of Zethros' best officers. The Vorthak ships opened fire with their energy weapons. The beams struck the human vessels and tore through their hulls. The ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. It seemed like an easy victory. Then the explosions got bigger, much bigger. The cargo ships had been loaded with nuclear warheads and antimatter charges. When they exploded, they created a wall of fire that reached out for miles. 3 Vorthak cruisers were caught in the blast and destroyed instantly. 5 more were badly damaged. "What happened?" Zethros demanded. "The humans used their own ships as bombs," his tactical officer reported, voice full of confusion. Zethros had never seen anything like it. In all his centuries of war, he had never fought an enemy that would destroy their own ships to hurt him. The Vorthak fought with honor and strength. This was something else entirely. "Continue the attack," Zethros ordered. "Do not let them trick us again." But the tricks were just beginning. As the Vorthak fleet moved closer to Earth, they suddenly found themselves flying through a cloud of debris. Thousands of small objects floated in space around them. The aliens thought it was wreckage from destroyed human ships. They were wrong. Each piece of debris was actually a smart mine, waiting for the right moment to explode. As the alien ships passed by, the mines activated. Explosions blossomed throughout. The Vorthak formation. Smaller ships were destroyed outright. Larger vessels had their hulls torn open. Impossible, Zethros growled. How did they place mines here without us seeing them? The answer was simple. Humans had been dropping the mines for weeks, disguising them as space junk and asteroid fragments. The Vorthak sensors were designed to find ships and weapons, not garbage floating in space. Captain Tony Martinez chose that moment to spring his trap. Phoenix Squadron, attack now! 50 human attack ships suddenly appeared from behind asteroids and space debris. They had been hiding with their engines powered down, invisible to Vorthak sensors. Now they came to life like sleeping sharks waking up to hunt. The human ships were small and fast, nothing like the massive Vorthak cruisers. They darted between the alien vessels like angry wasps, firing missiles and energy beams. The Vorthak tried to respond, but their big ships were too slow to track such quick targets. Pilot Rick Anderson was flying his fighter directly at a Vorthak battleship. The alien vessel was 10 times bigger than his ship. With enough firepower to destroy a small moon, Rick didn't care. He had grown up playing video games and racing hover cars. To him, this was just another game, except the stakes were higher. Come on, ugly, Rick said as he dodged an energy beam that would have vaporized his ship. Try to keep up. Rick flew his fighter into the shadow of the alien ship's hull, where its weapons couldn't reach him. He fired his missiles at point-blank range, targeting the ship's engine ports. The explosions tore through the alien vessel's armor and reached its power core. The mighty battleship died in a flash of light. War Prime Zethros watched in growing anger as his perfect formation was torn apart by these tiny human ships. His commanders kept asking for orders, but Zethros didn't know what to tell them. This wasn't how war was supposed to work. "Sir, should we call for reinforcements?" asked his second-in-command. "Reinforcements?" Zethros roared. "We brought 200 ships to conquer one small world. We should not need reinforcements." But even as he spoke, more human ships appeared. These were bigger vessels, cruisers and destroyers that had been hiding behind Earth's moon. They came at the Vorthak fleet from a different angle, catching the aliens between two forces. Captain Megan Foster was leading a squadron of stealth fighters in an attack on the Vorthak command ships. The alien commanders were used to staying safely behind their battle lines while their soldiers did the fighting. They weren't ready for enemies that could appear anywhere at any time. "Target their communication arrays," Megan ordered. "Cut off their command and control." The human fighters struck like lightning, destroying the antenna and sensor dishes on the alien command ships. Suddenly, the Vorthak fleet couldn't coordinate their attacks. Each ship was fighting alone, cut off from their leaders. The battle was turning into chaos, and humans were much better at fighting in chaos than the Vorthak. Dr. Alex Turner felt the flagship shaking around him as explosions rocked the massive vessel. The alien guards who had been so confident before were now running through the corridors in panic. Alex could hear them shouting orders in their own language, but their voices were full of fear. Alex and the other human prisoners had been moved to a detention block deep inside the ship, but the aliens were too busy fighting to guard them properly. Alex began working on the energy ropes that held him, using a piece of metal he had hidden in his shoe. "Keep working," he whispered to the other prisoners. "We might get a chance to escape." Back in space, the battle was reaching its peak. The Vorthak had lost 40 ships and were struggling to maintain their formation. The humans had lost 12 vessels, but they were fighting like demons. Every time the aliens thought they had won, another wave of human ships would appear from nowhere. War Prime Zethros finally realized what was happening. The humans weren't fighting a traditional space battle. They were fighting like guerrilla warriors, using hit-and-run tactics and tricks instead of brute force. It was brilliant and terrifying and completely unlike anything he had ever faced. All ships retreat to safe distance, Zethros ordered. Regroup and prepare for bombardment of the planet. But the humans weren't done surprising him. As the Vorthak fleet tried to pull back, they found their escape routes blocked by more human ships. These were the heavy cruisers that had been waiting in the outer system, armed with the most powerful weapons Earth could build. The aliens were trapped between the human forces, caught in a web they couldn't break. For the first time in 300 years, War Prime Zethros faced the possibility of defeat. On Earth, Admiral Sullivan watched the battle with grim satisfaction. The plan was working, but the cost was high. Good people were dying up there, fighting to protect their world. She just hoped it would be enough. Phase 2, she ordered. Bring in the big guns. The real surprise was yet to come. War Prime Zethros had never felt such rage in his 3 centuries of conquest. Half of his invasion fleet was damaged or destroyed, and the humans continued to fight with tactics that made no sense. No honorable species fought this way. No civilized enemy used such underhanded methods. Send the message to all Vorthak fleets, Zethros commanded through gritted teeth. Full mobilization. I want every ship in the Empire here within 10 days. His second-in-command looked shocked. War Prime, that is over 1,000 ships. We have never needed such force for a single world. This world is different, Zethros admitted, the words tasting bitter in his mouth. These humans fight like demons. Across the Vorthak Empire, the call went out. Fleets that were conquering distant worlds stopped their campaigns and turned toward Earth. Vassal species that served the Empire were ordered to send their ships as well. The Krillian warriors, the Mantari Federation, the Xelon Collective, all were commanded to join the assault on humanity's home world. On Earth, Dr. Ryan Clark was working frantically in his laboratory. The battle had given him access to debris from destroyed Vorthak ships, and what he found amazed and terrified him. The alien technology was far beyond anything humans had developed, but it wasn't perfect. Kate, you need to see this, Ryan said over the comm to Admiral Sullivan. Kate arrived at his lab within minutes. Ryan showed her pieces of alien armor and weapons spread across his workbench. Their technology is based on energy manipulation, Ryan explained. But they have a weakness. Their power systems all operate on the same frequency range. If we can disrupt that frequency, their ships become floating junk, Kate finished. How long do you need? Give me a week and I can build a device that will shut down their entire fleet. You have 3 days, Kate replied. Intelligence reports show they're calling in reinforcements, lots of them. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison had been rescued from his escape pod and brought back to Earth. He was immediately taken to a briefing room where Colonel Danny Brooks was waiting for him. Jake, we need you to lead a special mission, Danny said without preamble. What kind of mission? Jake asked. Danny activated a holographic display showing the Vorthak flagship. We need to rescue the prisoners they took from your ship. More importantly, we need someone inside their command structure to cause chaos when the time is right. Jake studied the massive alien vessel. It was 3 miles long and bristling with weapons. Getting inside would be nearly impossible. Getting out alive would be a miracle. When do we leave? Jake asked. Tomorrow. Captain Megan Foster will pilot a stealth ship to get you close. The rest is up to you. In space, the Vorthak fleet had pulled back to regroup. War Prime Zethros was studying tactical reports and trying to understand how his superior force had been defeated by primitive humans. The answer didn't make sense to him. "They do not fight with honor," complained Captain Krulax. "They use deception and trickery instead of strength." "Perhaps that is why they are winning," Zethros replied quietly. The War Prime was beginning to understand that he was facing something new. The humans didn't follow the rules of civilized warfare. They attacked from hiding. They used their own ships as weapons. They struck at communications and supply lines instead of fighting ship to ship like proper warriors. "War Prime," his tactical officer reported, "we are receiving strange signals from the human planet. It appears they are broadcasting something to the entire galaxy." "Show me," Zethros ordered. The main screen displayed President Marcus Webb sitting in the Oval Office. The human leader looked calm and confident, not like someone whose world was under attack. "People of the galaxy," President Webb said, "you have lived under the rule of the Vorthak Empire for centuries. You have been told that resistance is impossible, that the Vorthak are too strong to defeat. Today, we proved that was a lie." The broadcast showed footage from the recent battle. Vorthak ships exploding, human fighters dancing between alien cruisers. The mighty invasion fleet retreating in disorder. "The Vorthak can be beaten," President Webb continued. "They are not gods. They are not invincible. They are bullies who have never faced real opposition. But that ends now." Zethros turned off, the broadcast in fury. The humans were trying to inspire rebellion throughout his empire. If other species saw the Vorthak defeated, they might rise up against their masters. "Jam all communications," Zethros ordered. "Do not let this message spread," but it was too late. The signal had already been transmitted across the galaxy. On 100 conquered worlds, people were watching the impossible happen. The Vorthak Empire was losing a battle. Dr. Alex Turner had managed to free himself and 3 other prisoners from their energy bonds. They were hiding in a maintenance shaft inside the Vorthak flagship, trying to figure out how to escape. Alex had studied the alien ship's layout and found something interesting. "Look at this," Alex whispered, showing the others a schematic he had memorized. "Their entire ship is controlled from the central computer core. If we could get in there, we could sabotage their systems," finished Dr. Beth Hayes, one of the other prisoners. "But how do we get past the guards?" Alex smiled grimly. "The same way humans always do. We improvise." On Earth, engineer Sophie Adams was working on a new type of weapon. Sophie was a brilliant woman who had spent years designing peaceful technology. Now she was turning her knowledge toward war. "The Vorthak armor is designed to stop energy weapons and projectiles," Sophie explained to her team. "But it's not designed to stop this." She showed them a device that looked like a simple metal rod. When activated, it created a field that disrupted the molecular bonds in Vorthak armor. The armor would simply fall apart. "How many can you make?" asked Colonel Brooks. 1,000 by tomorrow, Sophie replied. "More if we work through the night." Intelligence Officer Nick Taylor was monitoring communications from across the galaxy. Nick was a quiet man who spoke 12 languages and could crack any code. What he was hearing made him very worried. "Admiral, we have a problem," Nick reported to Kate Sullivan. "The Vorthak are calling in ships from everywhere. Our satellites show at least 800 vessels heading toward Earth. They'll be here in a week." Kate felt a chill run down her spine. Earth's fleet had barely survived the first battle against 200 ships. 800 would be impossible to defeat. "Any good news?" Kate asked. "Actually, Yes, Nick replied with a small smile. 3 species have declared independence from the Vorthak Empire: the Altarians, the Centauri Federation, and the Rigel Consortium. They saw our broadcast and decided to rebel. Will they help us? Unknown. But they're keeping some Vorthak ships busy dealing with rebellions instead of attacking Earth. In his secret laboratory, Dr. Ryan Clark was making progress on his frequency disruptor. The device was based on technology salvaged from destroyed Vorthak ships. If it worked, it could shut down alien vessels by disrupting their power systems. The problem is range, Ryan explained to his assistant. The device works, but only within a few thousand miles. We need to get it close to their fleet. What about hiding it in an asteroid? His assistant suggested. Ryan's eyes lit up. Better. We hide it in something they won't expect, something they'll bring right into the middle of their fleet. The next day, Captain Jake Morrison and a small team of volunteers prepared for their dangerous mission. They would fly a captured Vorthak shuttle to the alien flagship, pretending to be returning with important prisoners. Once inside, they would rescue Dr. Turner and the others while sabotaging the ship's systems. Remember, Captain Foster told Jake as he boarded the shuttle, "You have exactly 30 minutes before we extract you. After that, the stealth field fails and you're on your own." "Understood," Jake replied. "See you on the other side." As the shuttle launched toward the alien fleet, War Prime Zethros was receiving reports from across his empire. 3 worlds had declared independence. Rebel ships were attacking Vorthak supply lines. The broadcast from Earth had inspired uprisings on a dozen planets. "This is what happens when we show weakness," Zethros said to his officers. "The humans have made us look defeatable. Now every species in the galaxy thinks they can challenge us." "What are your orders, War Prime?" his second-in-command asked. Zethros looked at the image of Earth on his screen. The small blue planet had caused more trouble than any world he had ever conquered. But he would not be denied victory. "When our reinforcements arrive, we will destroy this world completely," Zethros declared. "No humans will survive. Their planet will be an example to any species that dares to resist the Vorthak Empire." But Zethros didn't know that humanity was preparing one final surprise. Dr. Clark's frequency disruptor was almost ready. Sophie Adams had finished her molecular destabilizers, and Captain Morrison was about to bring chaos to the heart of the Vorthak fleet. The real battle was just beginning. Captain Jake Morrison tried to keep his hands steady as the stolen Vorthak shuttle approached the alien flagship. Beside him, Lieutenant Casey Miller and Sergeant Ron Davis checked their weapons one final time. All 3 men were wearing Vorthak, armor taken from dead aliens, hoping it would help them blend in during their rescue mission. "Remember, we have 30 minutes, Jake whispered into his comm. "Get in, find Dr. Turner and the others, and get out." The shuttle was cleared for landing by the flagship's control tower. Jake's heart pounded as they flew into the massive ship's docking bay. Hundreds of alien warriors moved around them, but none seemed suspicious of another returning shuttle. Deep inside the ship, Dr. Alex Turner had been working on his sabotage plan for 3 days. He and the other prisoners had managed to access the maintenance tunnels that ran through the vessel's core systems. Alex had studied alien technology his whole career, and now he was putting that knowledge to deadly use. "The central computer controls everything," Alex explained to Dr. Beth. "Hayes and the 2 other human prisoners. Navigation, weapons, life support, communications. If we can plant Sophie's molecular destabilizers in the right places, the whole ship becomes a floating coffin," Beth finished. Alex nodded grimly. They had been given the destabilizer devices. During their capture, hidden in medical implants that the aliens hadn't detected. Now those tiny weapons would bring down a ship the size of a small city. On Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan was coordinating Operation Checkmate, the most ambitious military action in human history. Intelligence reports showed that 800 Vorthak ships were converging on Earth from across the galaxy, but Kate had a plan that would use the aliens' own strength against them. "All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan," she broadcast to Earth's hidden fleets. "Phase 3 is now active. Target the command vessels only. Ignore everything else." Dr. Ryan Clark's frequency disruptor was finally ready. The device had been hidden inside a fake asteroid and launched toward the Vorthak fleet 3 days ago. Now it drifted innocently among the space debris, waiting for the signal to activate. "The disruptor will only work for 10 minutes before they figure out how to counter it," Ryan warned Kate over the comm. 10 minutes to hit them with everything we have." 10 minutes is all we need," Kate replied. War Prime Zethros stood in his command center, watching the tactical displays that showed his massive fleet. Over 1,000 ships now surrounded Earth's solar system. It was the largest force the Vorthak Empire had ever assembled. Nothing could stand against such overwhelming power. "Begin the final assault," Zethros commanded. "Destroy all human ships, then burn their planet to ash." The alien fleet began to move forward in perfect formation. But as they advanced, something strange began to happen. Ships throughout the fleet started losing power. Weapons went offline. Navigation systems failed. Communication arrays went dead. "What is happening?" Zethros demanded. "Unknown, War Prime," his tactical officer replied, panic creeping into his voice. "All our systems are shutting down. It's like something is draining our power." Dr. Clark's frequency disruptor had activated, sending out waves of energy that disrupted the Vorthak power systems. For exactly 10 minutes, the galaxy's most feared fleet would be helpless. That was when Earth struck back. From hidden bases throughout the solar system, human ships appeared like ghosts materializing from nothing. They came from behind asteroids, from the shadows of moons, from the depths of space where they had been waiting in silence. 50 attack squadrons converged on the disabled Vorthak fleet, but they weren't attacking randomly. Following Kate's orders, every human ship targeted only the Vorthak command vessels. The massive dreadnoughts that controlled the alien fleet suddenly found themselves under devastating assault. Captain Tony Martinez led Phoenix Squadron in a direct attack on the Vorthak flagship. His fighter squadron weaved between the giant ship's weapon turrets, which couldn't track them without power to their targeting systems. "Target the bridge towers," Tony ordered. "Cut off their command structure." Missiles and energy beams tore into the flagship's command sections. Explosions rippled across the ship's hull as critical systems were destroyed. But Tony's real target was deeper inside the vessel. On the flagship, Jake Morrison and his team had found Dr. Turner's location. The prison block was heavily guarded, but the aliens were confused and disorganized because their systems were failing all around them. "Now!" Jake shouted. The 3 men burst from their hiding place, using Sophie's molecular destabilizers on the guard's armor. The alien equipment simply crumbled away, leaving the warriors defenseless against human weapons. "Alex!" Jake called, out as they blasted open the prison cells. "Jake? How did you get here?" Alex asked in amazement. "Long story. We need to move now. Casey, get our people to the shuttle. Alex, do you have those sabotage devices ready?" Alex held up 3 small devices that would destroy the ship's main computer core. "Ready to turn this flagship into scrap metal." As Jake's team fought their way back to the shuttle bay, the battle outside was reaching its peak. Human ships darted through the disabled Vorthak fleet like sharks among helpless whales. The alien command vessels were being systematically destroyed, one by one. Lieutenant Casey Miller was leading the freed prisoners toward their escape route when they encountered a squad of alien warriors. The Vorthak were still dangerous even without their armor, but they had never faced humans in close combat before. Casey had trained in martial arts since childhood. She moved like water, dodging energy blasts and striking at vulnerable points on the aliens' bodies. The other humans followed her lead, fighting with a savagery that shocked their enemies. "These creatures fight like wild animals," one of the aliens gasped before Casey knocked him unconscious. "We fight to survive," Casey replied coldly. In the flagship's computer core, Alex was planting the molecular destabilizers with surgical precision. Each device was placed to cause maximum damage to the ship's critical systems. When they activated, the entire vessel would die. 60 seconds to detonation," Alex announced over his comm. "Everyone better be off this ship by then." War Prime. Zethros watched in horror as his perfect fleet was torn apart. The humans had somehow disabled his ships and were now destroying his command structure with surgical precision. In 10 minutes, they had accomplished what should have been impossible. "Emergency power to all ships," Zethros ordered. "Restore communications immediately." But even as his ships began to regain power, the damage was done. 17 command vessels had been destroyed or crippled. The Vorthak fleet was blind and leaderless, scattered across space without coordination. Jake's shuttle launched from the flagship just as Alex's sabotage devices activated. The massive vessel shuddered as explosions tore through its computer core. Navigation failed. Weapons went offline. Life support began to shut down. "The flagship is dead in space," reported Captain Foster as she picked up the rescue shuttle. "Nice work, Jake." But the battle wasn't over yet. The remaining Vorthak ships were starting to restore power, and they were very angry. Without their command vessels to coordinate them, they began attacking anything that moved. This was exactly what Admiral Sullivan had hoped for. Angry enemies made mistakes. Uncoordinated enemies could be defeated in detail. "All units, initiate." "Phase 4, Kate ordered. "Hunter-killer tactics. Take them down one at a time." Earth's ships spread out across the battlefield, picking off isolated Vorthak vessels. The aliens fought bravely, but they were used to coordinated fleet actions. Individual ship duels favored the more flexible human tactics. Captain Megan Foster led her stealth squadron in attacks on Vorthak supply ships. Without fuel and ammunition, the alien warships would be helpless. It was another example of human thinking. Strike at the enemy's ability to fight, not just their weapons. "This is impossible," Captain Krulex said as his cruiser limped away from a human assault. "How are they everywhere at once?" The answer was simple. Humans had been preparing for this battle for decades, hiding ships and weapons throughout their solar system. The Vorthak had brought a massive fleet to fight a small enemy, but they had walked into a trap. By the end of the day, the tide of battle had completely turned. The Vorthak fleet was scattered and demoralized. Nearly half their ships were destroyed or disabled. The remainder were retreating toward the edge of the solar system. War Prime Zethros stood on the emergency bridge of his crippled flagship, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Vorthak Empire had suffered a crushing defeat. War Prime, his communications officer reported, "We are receiving surrender offers from 12 vassal species. The Krelians, the Mantari, and others are abandoning their fleets and declaring independence." Zethros felt his empire crumbling around him. The humans had done more than win a battle. They had broken the myth of Vorthak invincibility. Across the galaxy, conquered species were rising up against their masters. "Signal the fleet," Zethros said quietly. "Fall back to the outer system. We regroup and plan our next move." But even as he gave the order, Zethros knew the truth. There would be no next move. The humans had changed everything. The galaxy would never be the same. On Earth, Admiral Sullivan watched the alien fleet retreat with grim. War Prime Zethros stood in the ruins of his command center, surrounded by sparking electronics and the smell of burning metal. His flagship drifted powerless at the edge of Earth's solar system, one of hundreds of crippled Vorthak vessels. For the first time in his 3 centuries of conquest, he was the one running from battle. "Damage report," Zethros commanded, his voice barely controlled. 40% of our fleet is destroyed or disabled," his tactical officer replied. "The remaining ships are scattered across 3 star systems. Many have lost communication with command." "And our vassal fleets?" The officer hesitated. "Gone, War Prime. The Krillians have declared independence. The Mantari Federation has joined them. 6 other species have abandoned their posts and returned to their home worlds." Zethros felt his empire slipping away like sand through his fingers. The humans had done more than defeat his fleet. They had shattered the fear that held the Vorthak Empire together. On Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan was planning the next phase of humanity's counterattack. The aliens had retreated, but they still had hundreds of ships scattered throughout nearby star systems. Those ships would eventually regroup and return for revenge. "We can't wait for them to come back," Kate told her staff officers. "We need to hunt them down while they're still disorganized." Commander Sam Rodriguez, who had escaped from the first alien attack, was now leading one of Earth's pursuit squadrons. Sam had volunteered for the most dangerous missions, driven by memories of his captured crewmates and destroyed ship. "Admiral, we've located a group of 50 Vorthak ships hiding in the Proxima system," Sam reported. "They appear to be trying to repair their vessels and re-establish communications." "Take Phoenix Squadron and deal with them," Kate ordered. "Hit them before they can coordinate a defense." Sam's squadron jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying humanity's war beyond their home system for the first time. The hunt had begun. Dr. Emma Stone's engineering teams had been working around the clock to upgrade Earth's ships with captured Vorthak technology. The alien equipment was centuries ahead of human science, but Emma and her people were learning fast. "We figured out how their energy shields work," Emma explained to Kate. "More importantly, we know how to penetrate them. Every human ship can now punch through Vorthak defenses." "What about their weapons?" Kate asked. "Even better news. We can build their energy cannons, but smaller and more efficient. Our new ships will hit twice as hard as the old ones." In the Proxima system, Sam's squadron dropped out of faster-than-light travel to find the Vorthak ships exactly where intelligence had predicted. The aliens were clustered around a space station, using it as a base for repairs. "Remember, no mercy," Sam told his pilots. "These are the same creatures that destroyed our exploration ships and captured our people. The human attack came without warning." Stealth ships appeared from all directions, launching missiles and energy beams at the surprised aliens. The Vorthak tried to respond, but their ships were damaged and their crews were demoralized. Captain Tony Martinez led his fighter wing in a direct assault on the alien command ship. The Vorthak vessel was 3 times the size of Tony's fighter, but it was operating with skeleton crew and reduced power. "Target their engines," Tony ordered. "Dead ships can't run away." His missiles struck the alien vessel's engine pods, leaving it drifting helplessly in space. Without their flagship to coordinate them, the other Vorthak ships broke formation and tried to escape. But Sam's squadron was ready for that. Human ships had been positioned at every escape route. The aliens found themselves trapped in a deadly web with no way out. "This is Commander Rodriguez to all Vorthak vessels," Sam broadcast. "Surrender now and you will be treated fairly. Continue fighting and you will be destroyed." One alien captain tried to ram his damaged cruiser into Sam's ship rather than surrender. The kamikaze attack failed when human fighters destroyed the cruiser before it could reach its target. "So much for Vorthak honor," Sam muttered. Within 3 hours, the entire alien force was either destroyed or captured. The humans had suffered only minor damage. It was becoming clear that the Vorthak were much less dangerous when they couldn't coordinate their attacks. Meanwhile, in another part of the galaxy, the rebellion against Vorthak rule was spreading like wildfire. The Krillian Empire, which had been conquered by the Vorthak 2 centuries earlier, was now sending their warrior fleets to attack alien supply lines. Captain Thane Bloodfist of the Krillian Navy watched human news broadcasts with growing respect. His people were natural warriors who had fought the Vorthak for decades before finally being conquered. To see these soft humans defeat the galaxy's apex, predators filled him with hope. "Send a message to Earth," Thane ordered his communications officer. "Tell them the Krillian Empire wishes to form an alliance." Similar messages were arriving at Earth from across the galaxy. Species that had been enslaved by the Vorthak for centuries were declaring their independence and offering to help humanity finish what they had started. Dr. Ryan Clark was studying these communications in his laboratory. What he found amazed him. "Kate, you need to see this," Ryan called Admiral Sullivan. "We're not just fighting the Vorthak anymore. We're leading a galactic revolution." The data showed rebellions on over 50 worlds. Former Vorthak colonies were kicking out their alien overseers. Vassal fleets were abandoning their posts and returning home. The empire that had ruled the galaxy for centuries was collapsing in a matter of weeks. "How many ships can these species provide?" Kate asked. "Hard to say exactly, but at least 2,000 vessels. The Krillians alone have 300 warships." Kate smiled grimly. The hunters were becoming the hunted, and humanity had just gained an army. War Prime Zethros was dealing with his own rebellion problems. His remaining fleet was hiding in the Vega system, trying to avoid human patrol ships. But even here, he faced challenges to his authority. "War Prime," Captain Krulek said carefully. "Perhaps we should consider negotiating with the humans. They have proven they can be reasonable opponents." Zethros turned on his subordinate with fury. "Negotiate? With the species that has destroyed half our fleet and broken our empire? Never! But War Prime, we are outnumbered and outgunned. The humans have new weapons, new allies. Our own vassal species are joining them. Then we will remind the galaxy why they should fear the Vorthak," Zethros replied coldly. "Prepare the fleet for a final assault on Earth. We will destroy their world completely, even if it costs us everything." Krulex looked horrified. "War Prime, that would be genocide. Even by our standards." "Our standards have led us to defeat," Zethros interrupted. "The humans do not fight with honor. They use trickery and deception. They turn our own allies against us. So we will abandon honor as well. We will show them what the Vorthak are truly capable of when we fight without restraint." On Earth, intelligence, Officer Nick Taylor was monitoring Vorthak communications. What he heard made his blood run cold. "Admiral Sullivan, we have a problem," Nick reported. The remaining Vorthak fleet is planning a final attack on Earth. But this won't be a conquest mission. They're planning to destroy the planet entirely. Kate felt a chill run down her spine. A desperate enemy was often the most dangerous kind. How long do we have? She asked. 3 days, maybe 4. They're gathering every ship they have left for one final push. Kate activated the emergency communication system, sending an urgent message to humanity's new allies across the galaxy. "This is Admiral Sullivan of Earth Defense Command," she broadcast. "The Vorthak are planning to destroy our world. We need every ship you can send. The time for half measures is over." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Krillian battle fleets changed course toward Earth. Mantari cruiser squadrons abandoned their defensive positions. Dozens of species that had never worked together before were now united by a common enemy. Captain Jake Morrison was preparing for what might be humanity's final battle. His ship, the New Discovery, was equipped with the latest human and alien technology. He would lead the combined fleet's assault on the Vorthak forces. "Remember," Jake told his multinational crew, "we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every species that wants to be free." In space around Earth, the largest fleet in galactic history was assembling. Human ships worked alongside former enemies, all united against the Vorthak threat. Engineers from a dozen species shared technology and tactics. Warriors who had fought each other for centuries now planned to fight together. War Prime Zethros looked at his remaining fleet and felt a cold satisfaction. He had 600 ships left, all crewed by the most fanatical Vorthak loyalists. They would not win this battle, but they would ensure that the humans paid the ultimate price for their defiance. "Begin the final approach to Earth," Zethros ordered. "Today, we teach the galaxy that some victories cost too much." But as the Vorthak fleet moved toward Earth, they found something waiting for them that no enemy had ever faced before. Not just human ships, but vessels from across the galaxy. Not just one species fighting for survival, but dozens of civilizations fighting for freedom. The final battle was about to begin, and it would determine the future of the galaxy.